Hi everyone, Lawrence Hugo here from Credit Mediation Service. Hope all is well. Coming to you from just the stunning Alexander Headlands with, it couldn't get better with a beautiful sunrise of the fishing boats. I think I can see some dragon boats in the background. Anyway, so we keep on getting inquiries around mortgage foreclosures and what to do. From mortgage brokers, accountants and clients and so on. And so it's motivated me to just do this clip to walk through a mortgage foreclosure process and what the banks need to do step by step and what options I have as a consumer to interdict this process at each stage and what my options are if I'm looking down the barrel of a mortgage foreclosure. Okay. So first and foremost, with the mortgage foreclosure, if a bank wants to proceed with the foreclosure on your property, they've got to send out a demand notice or a 57-2B notice. And between the account being up to date or 1 day in arrears to the 57-2B notice, between that period, there's lots of phone calls, letters, text messages, and so on, warning you that, come on guys, we've got to make the repayments on this, otherwise we're going to have some issues. So there's plenty of warning around all that. Generally, they tend to issue this demand notice or 57-2B notice around 90 days in arrears. They don't mess around. That notwithstanding, if we're in constant communication with the bank, you can be in arrears for quite some time. It could be 6 months or 12 months. The record that I've observed from clients is with Westpac for 7 years. So I had one consumer reached out to us in financial trouble and she was 7 years in arrears. And I've got to say, that's hats off to Westpac for being so tolerant. So the 57-2B, generally, 57-2B notice is issued around about 90 days if the matter is unaddressed. Then a statement of claim is issued after that. So it gives the client 30 days, the consumer 30 days to deal with the arrears. If it's ignored, the bank will then move forward with the statement of claim in the courts. And so the purpose there is the bank needs the permission from the courts to proceed with the foreclosure. So they've got to secure judgment. And the consumer has they have a bit of time to then put in a defence on that statement of claim, to go into the court and say, look, the bank has no right to do this because of ABC, XYZ reasons. Now, if the consumer doesn't do that, which generally they don't, then the bank will apply for judgment in the courts and then issue a notice to vacate. As broadly speaking, there's just two types of approaches. There's a notice to vacate where the consumer must vacate the property, or you have mortgagee in possession, and which is a friendlier way of doing things. So a bank might approach a consumer and say, look, we want to move forward with a mortgagee in possession. That means you can live in the property whilst we go through the selling process. And it might be easier for the consumer to deal with that because that gives them time to relocate. So, and then the property is sold and then everyone gets on with it. So what do you do under these circumstances? The primary thing that we advise everyone to do is to communicate with your bank. All banks, all lenders for consumer debt are subject to the Consumer Credit Codes, the NCCP, and the consumer is protected under the NCCP in that the bank must comply with a standard of care to ensure that that everything is done to assist the consumer through this process. And so the consumer's obligation through this, though, is not only just to attempt to make these repayments, but the consumer's obligation is to communicate with the bank. So if I'm talking with the bank and walking them through what's going on with the reasoning why I can't make the repayments, I'm sick, I've just had back surgery, or I'm off work temporarily, or something like that is happening, the bank is usually usually amicable and will make arrangements to work around my circumstances. So communication is very, very important. There are the hardship laws under Section 72 of the NCCP. The bank is obligated by law to consider a hardship case, but they're not obligated to approve it. That notwithstanding, if it's a clear-cut hardship, then it should be approved without any issues. And if the bank refuses to apply for provide hardship to the consumer that can then make a complaint to AFCA for their review. So we've talked about hardship, we've talked about communication. The next thing is, and just on the other thing on the communication, back in 1990, I used to foreclose on mortgages for a major financial firm in Australia, and it wasn't the best job. In fact, I was hopeless at this job because my job was to collect arrears on mortgages, and I just couldn't foreclose. Back in the old days, I couldn't foreclose. The old days where we didn't have hardship policies, and in those days you'd had to foreclose on pensioners and people who are unemployed and so on and so forth. And I just struggled with it, so I was the worst at this job. But there was one particular client, I remember, this consumer, he owed somewhere in the region of $300,000 on his mortgage, and the property was worth about $700,000. And this guy, no matter what we did, he refused to pay. He worked full time, and he had surplus cash, but he just would never pay. So we proceed with the foreclosure. The week before the auction, this guy went back to his house after we issued the notice to vacate. The house is to be auctioned. He had to move out. He's moved out. The week before the auction, he went back to the house with a sledgehammer, and he redecorated the whole house with this sledgehammer. And it's unbelievable because the property was sold. It was supposed to be worth $700,000, but it was then sold for somewhere in the region of $500,000. And sure, we paid out the mortgage at $300,000, but he lost $200,000 from that. It's just absolutely crazy. Communication is absolutely everything when dealing with the banks. But the last point on this is, if I'm having problems in servicing my mortgage, I need to look at my budget. Budget is so important. Why is it that yesterday I was able to service my mortgage, today I can't? And it might be a number of reasons, like life events, I'm sick, or unemployment and so on. But it also might be my creeping budget, where I'm tending to spend more and more money on things that I shouldn't be spending on, like going out for dinners and just excessive spending on discretionary spending, as the banks would call it. And so the first thing I've got to do, next to the communication and next to applying for financial hardship, is I need to redo my budget and figure out ways I can earn more money or save more money, or both. Take a second job, do overtime at work, maybe rent out one of the bedrooms for share accommodation, maybe stop purchasing things that just tighten my belt. And given the application of those factors, there's an excellent chance I'll be able to trade my way through this difficult time. All right, so I hope that was helpful, guys. I'm going to be talking about, while we're on the subject of mortgages, the next clip is going to be talking about upside down mortgages, what I call upside down mortgages, and that is the property is worth less than the value of the property, and how LMI, loan mortgage insurance, comes into it. Anyway, have a great day, guys. Bye.